You have a loved one who is blind. What can you do to help? My suggestions are coming up. Hi, this is Corey, and welcome back to Matt's channel, Blind to Billionaire. I'm here today to talk about something that I think I'm learning about, but I'm going to get better at. And it's what are things that I can do as a sighted partner to help my blind spouse. So here are some of my suggestions on things that we can do as sighted partners or loved ones to be a better just person for our blind or low vision spouse or partner or loved one. So my suggestions are, 1, be neat and tidy. Always put things back where you find them, and definitely don't leave things out on the floor. Don't leave things out anywhere that could be tripped or bumped accidentally. If you were like in the kitchen, and these are basic things that honestly probably we should all do regardless of if we have a low vision spouse. So I mean, Matt and I kind of go back and forth if this is just me, you know, not being quite so tidy, but always, no matter like if you're going in and out of a cupboard, like right away instantly close the cupboard door. Even if you think you're going right back in, you don't want somebody to accidentally run into the cupboard door. Or if you're like, one of the things for us that we find really important to think about is if you have a door in your house, make sure that it's either all the way closed or all the way open. Partially open doors are extremely dangerous because if you accidentally, you know, run into a door, you could get really, really injured. So closing a door completely, it's sometimes you have to like, we've had to adjust our doors so that they don't kind of like sneak closed, so that or we put things in front of the door to keep them wide open. So just being mindful of doors. Something else is keeping the consistent like cupboard space really. That kind of goes into, I guess, another thing, but just consistency in your cupboards, consistency in your fridge. It's a courtesy to your blind partner or child or anyone in your house who's low vision to keep consistency. Even if you think you're being consistent, you might not be being consistent enough for your low vision partner. So we mark, like our peanut butter, I like creamy, Matt likes chunky. His is always in one spot, and my peanut butter is always in another. If we have sour cream versus cream cheese, or not cream cheese, that's kind of an obvious one if it's a block of cream cheese. But if you have cottage cheese versus sour cream, I know that at Matt's parents' house, they mark their one or the other with like a little piece of tape on the top of the lid, and that just helps Matt to know either one is sour cream or one is cottage cheese. Actually, I think they mark their peanut butter jars at their house that way too. It's just a really, really nice way to do things so that he has more independence in the house, and you're just being a little more thoughtful on what your partner's needs are. It's just way, obviously, like you all know, this is way harder to be not sighted than it is to be sighted. So the more things we can do to keep the house consistent, it will help Matt be more independent and feel more confident in doing daily activities around the house. Another thing that I try and do is to include Matt in conversation, to include him in social plans. I mean, it's kind of something you do as a common courtesy to anyone you cared about, but I think just being more mindful that it's easy. And again, I just want to clarify, as a sighted spouse, so I'm not low vision, I'm not blind, I don't know what it's like to be low vision, so I don't want to come across sounding like I know, because I definitely do not know. I always feel like it's important to be clear that I don't understand. Even though I live with somebody who is blind, I don't get what it's like. I think that would be not very like thoughtful of me to act like I get it. I think I understand probably better than someone who has no contact with a low vision person, but I know that there's a lot of things that I do on a consistent basis that are extremely unhelpful, but I try. So like I was just saying, I think like with socializing, just making sure that Matt feels part of the conversation, so that your low vision person doesn't kind of get like left in the wayside. One of the things that I do And actually, our family and friends are getting a lot better at this. But if somebody comes up to join our conversation, I always say, "Oh, Matt, it's Auntie Shelley," or, "Oh, hi, Grandma." He recognizes some of those people, but just to be a little bit more, just like make him feel more comfortable, that who's around us, and so that's one less thing he has to worry about is kind of what's going on around us like that. The other thing I do is when we're like shopping or out and about, I try and describe kind of our surroundings in more detail. If he has like a specific interest in certain things, I try and be more descriptive versus like some things he probably doesn't care about as much. So then I don't really like describe that kind of stuff, I would say, as much as other things. So when we're grocery shopping, I always tell him like the price of things and kind of what our options are. And I know that someday if he could see again, that he would think, "Oh my gosh, why didn't you tell me about like all these products that we have like at the grocery store? Why didn't you tell me about everything that's happening around us?" Because I know that there's no way that I could really be as sufficient in that area as possible. It would actually be interesting for me to be with another sighted spouse who's leading their low vision partner to see how they do it, how they describe things. I think partially you just kind of get a system down, but it would be curious to see, like, I always think it's interesting, like, if I have a family member who is helping Matt and I'm kind of, I mean, that doesn't really happen very often, but, if somebody else is trying to guide Matt and I'm around, then it's always interesting kind of like how they do it, because it's like, oh, maybe I'll come up with like a better, like a more helpful way to be, or just a better verbiage. So I think that that's important, is to always like describe your environment and do the best you can. I'm not sure that I'm really totally on topic with this, but I'm just trying to kind of come up with ways to be better for your sighted, or as a sighted spouse, to be better for your low vision partner. I think, to kind of recap, I would say consistency with where you put things in your house, tidiness, to not leave things where they don't belong, inclusion, to make your spouse feel and be more part of like the social kind of environment. Actually, this kind of is another interesting thing that Matt and I have kind of dealt with, is he works from home, and so he doesn't have like an office that he goes to, although he does have some social contact with people. It's just different than mine. So I go to an office, I have patients that I see, all day, and so I'm kind of socializing most of my day, and I don't kind of realize that that's not what Matt's doing. And so for me, when I get home from work, sometimes I like to just, like watch TV, like look at my phone, hang out. But for him, like all the social things that I don't notice, well, that's not exactly accurate. It doesn't sound right. But if we're at the gym, we're checking in, like at the front desk, like that's a really important social time for him. The people we come in contact with, well, I might not, because I have more social interactions during the day, I have to be really, really thoughtful and cognizant that this is something that like every interaction that he gets outside of our house is really valuable. And maybe I don't know if he would not really prefer me posting about that, but I just think as a sighted person, maybe that would be helpful to recognize for your low vision spouse or partner or sibling or child or something, is that their social interactions are most likely different than yours, and just being really thoughtful that just because maybe I don't notice something social as like checking out with a cashier, that actually does make a big difference potentially for your like low vision spouse. So I hope that these tips and ideas helped. I hope I'm not too repetitive, but I'm just wanted to put these out there. If you guys have any suggestions on how I can be a better spouse to someone who's low vision. Oh, I just thought of the biggest one, patience. I think being patient and communicating, just kind of like in every relationship you have, is going to make a big difference. So I guess I would like to close this out by saying that communicating how you're feeling is going to help a ton, and being patient with each other. Like, I know last night we were cooking in the kitchen, and he was making squash, and I was making like a vegetable puree kind of thing for my lunch. So I was in one part of the kitchen and I had like all kinds of little containers all over, and he was in another area of the kitchen with the squash, and he was cooking and I was cooking, and our kitchen isn't huge, and we have counter space, but we have to share space too. And so I think that it was frustrating for both of us because he needed to be in my area and I needed to be in his area, and I didn't really want him to accidentally, knock anything over in my section, but I think that we both were feeling frustrated. And so I think that something we could have done to maybe help with that situation would be to be more patient. So for me to think, okay, he needs to get into my area and I can't just dominate 3/4 of the kitchen with all my little containers. And I think that we both just could have I think we're getting a lot better in our working through just kind of honestly just being married and being with another human. But in the low vision situation, how he has, if I went to clean his knife off because I thought he was done, but he wasn't. And it's okay, where should I put this in the kitchen so that it's safe for you? So I guess kind of a sidebar, but just kind of saying that if we can be, the more communication, the more patient we can be, the more kind you can be, just recognizing that everybody's coming from a different place, and that what the goal is that everyone's happy and everyone feels loved and everyone feels valuable, and that I think that just we treat each other well. So hopefully, not to get too off topic, I want this to be, a video of at least some value to you. So I hope that this helped. I want your suggestions, input, things that I can do to be a better sighted spouse, or if you're a sighted spouse, what you do that's helpful, or if you're low vision, what you wish people would do to be more helpful. It's a learning process. I think that, most people, obviously some people are born blind, and so in their situation, maybe, if they have everybody has to adapt though. So I guess it doesn't really matter how you lost your vision necessarily, or how you came into your life with someone with low vision. There's always adaptations, and typically vision changes and roles change and expectations change. So just kind of recognizing that dynamic too. So I would love to hear your feedback. I hope that you found value in this. I hope that maybe just to know that somebody's trying to help you if you're low vision by giving you independence and trying to be reasonable. So anyway, let me know if there's anything that sighted partners and people who love you as a blind person can do to be better. Thank you guys so much for your time. If you would like to subscribe, please go ahead and do that. We love our subscribers and we love our just watchers. So anyone, I don't know how to subscribe to a YouTube video 6 months ago, so I'm still learning. If you guys have any questions about anything, please let us know. We value you all so much. Thank you so much for your time. If you would like to like this video or comment, just literally go ahead down below. Thank you. Have a great night, you guys. Bye-bye.